The grey man does whatever a grey man can. Can he make a comic feed? Yes, he can. He just did. Watch now, a video from Grey Man. A video from Grey Man.
Grey Maniacs gather, it's me again. Yes, gonna do some stuff with my weekly reads. I'm a bit late. I should have done a weekly read yesterday actually, because I forgot that I'm starting to do looking in my boxes Tuesday, Thursdays, and Sundays now. So that should have been today, and the weekly read should have been yesterday. But I've got the old lockdown blues. Just not feeling much like bothering at the moment. Not particularly sort of. I'm just a bit numb. Feel a bit numb really. Like, every day is like. The same. Anyway, let me show you what I've got. First off, thank you very much to Comic Deal. He's been going through some of his old comics because he's trying to pare down his collection because he's got a baby on the way and I think he needs more space, more room. So he just gifted me this comic book, which is one of the ones that was on my list. So this is the Amiga Men number 15. I've got loads more to go on the Amiga Men run. Right, and this is a couple I got off of a Facebook seller. Number 12, towards my Lois Lane run of the newest series of Lois Lane. Got 2 more to go, I believe. And that was the only one I had on his list. So I had a quick look at what else he had. Just I thought there was no point but paying just for one. And I got parts 1 of 2. Wasn't on my list, but you know, who doesn't mind a bit of Hulk? And it's also by Ennis and McRae, Garth Ennis and John McRae, who've done quite a lot of interesting comics in the past, like Hitman and Demon. And yeah, so it's a 2-parter, so I thought I'd pick it up. Hulk Smash. I don't think, they don't look like McRae covers to me. Are they McRae covers? Let me have a quick look if it says who did the cover. It just doesn't look like how I picture McRae's are. A slightly different style, maybe different colourist or something, I don't know. Could be McRae on the covers, but I can't see the signature where it says. Lastly, an eBay purchase. Right, decided to hone in on one of my runs. Wanted to finish off one of my runs, my Avengers run. I'm not gone crazy. It's something like 149 till 380, something like that. And I had 2 more comics to go on that. The other one I went to try to pick up today from the post office, and they're bloody well closing hours, or opening hours rather, rubbish at the moment. I went there at like. Normally they open until midday at least, or 12:30, but no, they're closed at 10 o'clock on Mondays and Tuesdays now. Hardly worth opening. Right, but anyway, this is one from one of the last ones I had in my Avengers one, number 183. It wasn't that cheap, but it was £13, something like that. So there you go. And I think it's something like the first, it says here Miss Marvel joins Avengers. So yeah, apparently Miss Marvel joins the Avengers in this one. Doesn't she need the money 17 issues later? Anyway, but that's it. That's towards my Avengers run. And what I might do when when I pick up the other one, I might go through all my Avengers run just as a bonus, like comic, a bonus video of some stuff. Right, so let's go. What I've been reading this week. It's all Lois Lanes this week. I've nearly finished my bunch of Lois Lanes that I bought. So look at this beauty. And there's always a few stories, and I try and keep it a bit brisker this time because, God, my videos when I do this series go on. And last time about 40 minutes, and I only had about 5 comics to show, and I've got like more than that today. Right, so this first one, Lois Lane in the future. Superman ends up going to the future, and he discovers a descendant of Lois Lane, and they want to find out basically if he ends up marrying Lois in the past, and they have to find the Daily Planet, which has been destroyed when a meteor fell. It turns out that the Lois of the future is just as clumsy, almost just as getting in trouble just as much as the old Lois does, even though she's got superpowers. So it's kind of like making her a bit feeble, and it's just got some dialogue like you think, oh man, they'd never get away with that today. And it's like this bit here, she's gone off impetuously and like sped up, and Superman had to save her because somehow even though she's got superpowers and can fly, she can't control her own flight. I thought it was a bit daft, but they tend to be like that. But this is a line that they would never allow. I really feel much more secure this way, staying just a little bit behind him. Perhaps this is a good lesson to me in keeping a husband when I get married. It's like, wow, the 60s. This is what was considered the correct, I don't know, the correct idea of the day. This is from 1961. Right, the next story, Lois Lane's super lesson. A Maharaja or Raja proposes to her, and she says, "Oh, only if you can complete these super tasks that I'm going to set you," kind of thing. And she sets all these super tasks, and Superman, being an utter bum, decides to play a trick on her and like make it so all the tasks he's able to perform. So Lois has got to marry him, and at the end he says, the Raja says, "No, you're too demanding. I'm not going to marry you. I'm not going to let you join my harem of wives." Which is like, again, like a stereotypical kind of thing they probably wouldn't allow you to allowed to show nowadays, I don't suppose. Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, basically Superman being a dick. And there he is laughing his ass off at the end there, because yeah, what can you say? The comic books of this day are daft. Right, and in this one, I met a great story. Lois becomes a gun mole. I've actually read this one, and there's a few stories in these ones that I've read this week that I've had in later Lois giant sizes, and I can't remember what it is that causes it. It's made. Oh no, she's not actually turned into a gun mole, but it's she's got to marry Lex Luthor, and Superman's convinced because she's very convincing. But then later on, he realizes that it's actually a robot Lois, and Lois has been held captive in a a cellar or something like that. But he really looked like they were getting married, and she was in love with him. But then Superman realizes that he puts his cigarette lighter too close to her face while he's gloating to light her cigarette, and she doesn't flinch. So that's when he realizes that she's actually a robot. So yeah, but it was quite a fun story though, just seeing Lois in a leopard woman outfit being mean to Superman. So they do sort of spend their time like making the other one unhappy, basically, either playing pranks on each other or yeah, that kind of thing. Like Ranger Slayer was saying in a comment, he said there's about the same 5 or 6 stories are rehashed over and over again. I mean, you see what happens. It's either going to be like Mr. Mixie Plixietic, or it's going to be Red Kryptonite, or it's going to be I don't know, he's got to do it something mean because later on it ends up he's going to save their life, kind of thing. So it's all that kind of thing. I say with this one, for example, this is the first story now. I'll get to the first story first. Superman's Lois Lane. Oh, in this first one, she pretends to be somebody else for Lorelei LaRue. I can't remember what it was for, if it was for undercover or... Anyway, Superman finds her and falls in love with her. Falls madly in love with Lois as Lorelei LaRue, and yeah, he wants to marry her straight away, kind of thing. And he's saying mean things about Lois. Oh, yeah, Lois, she's such a pain in the butt, but yeah, I want to marry you. You're gorgeous. I'll count the seconds gorgeous. He even says at one point, which doesn't seem very Supermanish. But I think it ends up being a Mr. Mixie Pickly Block in this. Yeah, Mr. Mixie. But Lois realizes it. Lois is like, "Nah, this is all too crazy." She, as Lorelei LaRue, she tries to be sort of super mean and like not nice. It's hoping that Superman will, change his mind about marrying her. But no, he still wants to go ahead with it. Yeah, and then what happens. The guy who's about to perform the wedding, he says, "I checked the wedding license myself. Let's see, it's signed by Judge she's making his name backwards." He goes, "Eeps, you guessed that I had disguised myself as the real Justice of the Peace, whom I had hypnotised and put in a closet. Saying my name backwards now returns me to the 5th dimensional world for 90 days. Goodbye, Mr. Mixer-Plick-Tick, you zany mischief maker." So I think he used his 5th dimensional magic to, basically engineer the whole situation where he fell in love with Lorelei LaRue and didn't want to be nice to Lois. Here's an infomercial on how to ride buses safely. Wanted safe bus riders. Maybe I'll turn that one day into one of my little videos that nobody watches. Right, Lois Lane's girlfriend, the School for Scoop show. In this one, she's like being an instructress at a college for a while for journalists. But it happens to be a couple of hoods disguised as journalists there to try and bump her off, but she realises that they are hoods, and her and Jimmy are able to Jimmy Olsen are able to stop them basically, and Jimmy uses his signal watch, and Superman comes in and saves the day, and he got the thing of, he tells you in there how she discovers how they've done it, kind of thing. You have to read it yourself to find out. I'm not going to give you all the blinking ins and outs, but yeah, basically her keen wits are able to realise that they're bad guys. And there's a little one-off story, Babs. I like these little one-off stories as well. They're not like howl out loud or anything like that, but they're just little interesting things. In this one, Babs has got a new swimsuit to go to the seaside, and her boyfriend says, "Let's go swimming." She goes, "What? If I'd known we were going to go to the water, I'd have bought my old bathing suit." That's basically it. Right, this Lois Lane story, the irresistible Lois Lane. Now, Crypto is seen flying in the sky and leaving a signal of an L in the sky. I'm not sure what he uses to make the L, but he's got a smoke, he's got a flaming brand or something, and so he forms a little L in the sky. After that, Lois starts going around in her man bait dress, is what she describes it. "What I need is man bait, a dress that can hug the curves. Drenched with perfume, this number might even raise Superman's temperature." And she gets Perry to agree to her to do a story on Heroes I've Kissed by Lois Lane. The different heroes I've kissed, not counting Superman. And he says, "Not a bad idea. Go to work on them." Yeah, so first off, she kisses Green Arrow. And he seems to be into it. And like Lana was watching as part of her TV network thing, and she's like, "What's going on?" So she covers Green Arrow with kisses, basically. He's all got red lipstick all over him, and he wipes it off with a hanky. Then she meets up with Aquaman, and she gets into a clinch with Aquaman as well. Aquaman's saving this ship that's got into trouble. There's octopuses handing people down to ride off on whales and backs of sharks. There's swordfish that like pierce the side of the ship, and just like create steps going down to go down to the water. That's just such a daft image of a swordfish forming a swordfish staircase. Anyway, she smothers Aquaman with kisses. He says, "Superman is a fool to neglect you. Kiss me again." Right, then she meets up with Batman and smothers him with kisses as well. right. It all turns out it was a plot anyway. All this kissing these superheroes, because what it is, there's preordained signals where the Crypto will either do an L for Lois, or a P for Perry, or a J for Jimmy in the air, and that's part of a special plan that's been put in place by Superman in case he gets into a particular predicament. And by putting an L, it would set off Lois's plot, which basically meant that somehow he was being affected by green kryptonite close to Antarctica, but someone was watching, so she couldn't go straight there for some reason. So basically, this lipstick she's put on, this red lipstick, is actually red kryptonite, which has the ability to help Superman overcome green kryptonite. That was its one power, because red kryptonite has one effect on him, and it carries on having the same effect. So she's kissing all these guys to get red lipstick with red kryptonite on them. They wipe it off and mass it all together. Superman is in dire trouble. He's surrounded by aliens who lured him into a kryptonite trap. I only hope these handkerchiefs tied around my batarang reach him in time. So he batarangs these handkerchiefs covered in the red kryptonite lipstick, which he proceeds to wipe on himself so that he can. So he's no longer affected by the green kryptonite for a while. So that was it. Yes, but Plan L is to be carried out only by me when you're in dire peril from green kryptonite near the Fortress of Solitude, says Lois. So that explains it all. And she realised she was being observed, which is why she come up with that scheme of kissing the guys. So she was kissing them, probably whispering in their ears what the plan was, kind of thing, what the situation was. But yeah, what a convoluted way for a story. But this is what these old comic books are all about, and I love them. Basically, they're daft as a brush, but fun. They're not even blinking superhero stories, really. They're just daftness. Although they've got superheroes in them, they're not in your traditional crime fight any kind of way. They're more, the crime fighting is kind of incidental to the wackiness, I suppose. Right, in this one, right, let's look at that beauty. Lois Lane's using Super Baby. Yeah, Superman's been given a youth serum which makes him young, and she's basically exploiting him to get stories. That's what appears to be happening anyway. A bit of damage to the spine on this one. Right, the silver coin of fate. Oh, right, yeah. Superman tosses a coin to decide which one he's going to marry, Lana or Lois. Lois wins the coin toss. Lana sees the coin and immediately knows that the marriage can't go ahead. So he's like, she's trying to convince Lois not to go ahead with it. Then she tries to convince Superman to go ahead with it. Right, and it turns out that it wasn't really Superman. Superman was all this time off planet on a mission, and it was actually a Bizarro who'd somehow taken on the proper Superman looks. But it was like kind of different from the other Bizarros because he's got the proper Superman looks. Plus he loves Lois, who's beautiful, rather than loving ugly things. What the Bizarros normally do. They normally perceive what we perceive as being beautiful as being ugly and hideous. So this Bizarro Superman wants Lois to marry him before Superman gets back and spills the beans, obviously. And Lois didn't want to tell her it's some kind of convoluted thing. Lois didn't want to tell Lana didn't want to tell Lois. What it was, the coin was a Bizarro coin. Basically, it had a Bizarro picture of George Washington or something on it. And Lana didn't want to tell her in case she had a faint or a heart attack or something. I think that was the convoluted story. I too knew his secret all the time, Lois. Remember that quote he tossed? When I saw it, I knew I had to stop the wedding. I can't remember what she says now. I'm sure she had a reason. Oh, right, yeah. I didn't blurt out the truth till Superman showed up for fear he might harm you. There you go. So that makes sense enough. Well then, and then the Widow in Black. What's this story? Yeah, these Perry's got some stories that he considers too dangerous for Lois Lane to deal with because, like, dangerous criminals, you know, Lois Lane for impetuousness and recklessness. So there's some stories he doesn't want her to know. So there's one, but she says, "I'm good enough. I can do any of these stories. Don't mollycoddle me, whatever." And so she gives him the Widow in Black. Like, as a rogue who's killing widows and stealing their jewels, basically. Lois goes along with the story. She meets this guy who seems like he's the poisoner, the Widow in Black. I'm not sure what his name is now. What do they call him? The Playboy Poisoner. Right, and he looks like he's going to poison her. He puts her out at sea in a little boat full of dynamite when she says that she knows that he's the poisoner. And then it turns out all along that it was Perry dressed up as the poisoner, pretending to be the poisoner, to scare her off and to let her know that, she has limits and she shouldn't, be doing these stories. But she'd already sussed out that it was him. Because of the handwriting. She saw two different versions of his handwriting, one when it was Perry and one when it was supposed to be the poisoner, and she realised it was Perry all along, and he ends up sort of going, okay, I know you can do any mission, you can go on the case of the Silent Strangler. Yeah, Lois is plucky, always been plucky, right? And this one, like Super Baby, Lois a dying magician gives Lois a youth potion, only one dose of a youth potion, and she's thinking about taking it, and something happens. Superman comes in and it actually accidentally gets spilt on him instead, and he gets turned into a baby, and he's like, please turn me back, and she's like, no, I'm only going to turn you back after I get my revenge for all the times you've not agreed to marry me and like kept me hanging on, kind of thing. So she gets him to do all these things to help her get scoops, and he's getting angrier and angrier by the time. And then Perry and Jimmy come along and they're like, Superman, you're a baby, don't you feel daft? That kind of thing, like, and making him angrier and angrier. And he turns back to Superman. I'm my old self again. No thanks to you. Goodbye. I never want to see you again, Lois. And Perry says, hold on, Superman. She angered you deliberately in order to transform you back into an adult. Lois, tell Superman what you told Jimmy and me on the phone about their messages on that parchment. So basically the parchment says, this strange mystic potion can give a person youth. There is only one one antidote is his anger, forsooth. Make the user mad with rage and he will turn to his normal age. So she was only being mean and like, you know, using him to get scoops just to make him angry so that he would turn back to his normal self. Obviously she couldn't warn him that that was, you know, what the plot was, because otherwise he wouldn't got angry. You can't say I'm going to deliberately try and make you angry and then be like, well, they're only trying to deliberately make me angry. I know they're trying to do it for my good, my benefit. So the story does make sense in its own logic. If she told him, then he probably wouldn't have got angry about it. So she couldn't tell him to enable to make him legitimately angry and turn him back from being a super baby. But super babies in Superman comics, they never look really like babyish. They always like that kind of like weird toddler look. Like, look at his little face. He's angry. I love the art though. They are super. Right. Wow, I've got so many stories. I've still got so many more to go. I had quite a busy book reading week. Not that constant, but you know, you can get a few in, like when I was going to my dad's and back. Right, and this one, I'll wait till I get the story in order actually. This will be a cool cover though. I think you'll agree. If you don't agree, then get your eyes checked, because it's definitely a cool cover. Oh yeah, right. The Phantom Lois Lane. Yeah, Lana sends Lois Lane into the Phantom Zone, and also sends Lina Level. No, is it Lina Level or what's her name? The Mermaid Girl. Also sends her into the Phantom Zone. No, Laurie Lamaris. Lina Level is the other Superwoman. Yeah, so it basically sends them both into the Phantom Zone. And straight away I knew what was causing it. Basically, Superman gives them both a space trinket. Like he bought some made some brooches out of some jewel that he found in space, and it's obviously making every time Lana's got it on, she starts being mean and like not worrying about what she's doing. So she sent Lois and Laurie into the Phantom Zone whilst under the influence of this gem, this space gem that Superman had given her. There's a few, that's another recurring trope in these stories. Superman giving stupid things to people that have weird radiations that make them act badly. Right, the Candid Camera Kid. This is she's posing as a gangster's mole that she looks very much alike. Lefty Lamaris or something, Lefty something or other. And so she poses as her, goes into a racket where they're trying to counterfeit money. She gets found out when she uses her right hand by accident. I think she's got the camera that she bought for taking pictures is a right-handed camera. She didn't pick up a left-handed camera, so she gets caught, locked into the room at the printing presses. The guys start passing their fake money, but they get caught pretty quickly. And it turns out that Lois, because she was locked in the printing press room, she changed the plate, so the I don't know, $500 bills or something had her face on instead of whoever should have been on them. There you go at the end there. There you go. You can see her face is on the $500 bill, and that's what alerts Superman of her being captured. Right, and then this last one, Lois Lane's slave girl. She miraculously goes back into the past, into the time, I think she's in either Roman times or Middle East, like Arabic time, not too sure. One of the guys looks kind of Roman or Greek, and the other guy looks kind of Arabic-y looking. Anyway, she ends up in she says ancient Rome, so she gets sold as a slave for 200 sesterces. So yeah, is it Samson she meets or Petronius? Petronius is the ancient warrior that she meets who is taking on the Romans. Yeah, and he's like basically saving slaves from captivity. She obviously falls in love with him and think, you know, wherever she goes, she wants to hook up with the strongest guy. Basically, she's like a super person groupie. I swear. Yeah, wherever she ends up in the past, is it Samson, Robin Hood, this guy Petronius? She's like, oh yeah, they're just coming in for a kiss here by the looks of it, and suddenly time goes back on itself again, and yeah. She ends up back in normal time. Yeah, I think the thing was she was about to get the goods on some criminals, and so I think it was a court case or something like that. She was about to drop a minute in court, and they use a time bomb on her. This professor uses a time bomb rather than a bomb that goes off at a certain time. It's a bomb that sends her back in time. Yeah. Right, here's an imaginary story. Let's tell you the story on the front cover because I remember it. Lex Luthor kidnaps Lois, flies off into space, goes to this world where there's these telepathic aliens. They decide to actually change Lex Luthor. They say there is a spark of good in you, and they get rid of all the nastiness in him and make it so the spark of good is upmost. He manages to win his freedom by helping to save the governor of the prison. Lois, he falls in love with Lois. Lois decides, yeah, okay, I'm fed up waiting for Superman, and he's got such sweet nature, so she, he saves her life as well, which helps, and he decides to marry him. So they get married. Superman's pretty upset. He's fairly happy with Luthor, and then later on they have a kid who's now a grown adult who decides to follow in his original, his father's original career. So he becomes a criminal. He's basically a criminal. When this all comes, I think Superman's married Lana. What a fool I was not to marry Lois when I had the chance. I've lost her forever. I've got to forget her. And so Superman proposes to Lana Lang, who had long been Lois's rival for his affections. Marry me and I'll give you temporary superpowers so you'll be safe from my foes. I accept. I love you so much. I don't care if I'm getting you on the rebound. Poor Lana. She should never have been second choice. But then what can you do? Lois is gorgeous as well. I still think he should have just said, look, I'm super, ladies. I don't get tired. Catch my drift. But this was the 60s and that sort of thing wouldn't have been allowed then. Let's just say polyamorous man. That's what I would have said. I may be super, I'm also polyamorous. Anyway. But, and just think, faster than a speeding bullet. Whew, blimey. Anyway. So yeah, young Luthor accidentally kills his father when he tries to stop him, and Lois is like, if only I could go back in time and change things, sob. Marrying Lex was a terrible mistake. Why did I do it? Why? Sob. But this was only a imaginary story, so it was always put down as being an imaginary story, a what if it could be kind of story, and it's not actually finished at all in this comic. Although that son of Luthor in a later Lois Lane, I know that he comes back, and so the imaginary story is continued in a later comic that I have read. I can't remember what happens now, whether he gets turned back to good or not. I'm not too sure. Right, and this last story is Lois Lane, millionaireess. An old woman thinks that Lois is her daughter who's actually gone missing in the Alps or something, and they say, the old lady bangs her head, starts thinking she really is her daughter. The doctor there says, please pretend to be her daughter so that she doesn't get a nasty shock, and she could die if she gets a shock like that. So she pretends to be Lois's daughter. It turns out it's all a plot. The old woman and everyone in the household is just posing because they want to get to Superman, right? And the idea is they're driving Lois around in a chauffeur-driven limousine, and the limousine's got lead lining, and under the lead is green kryptonite. The idea is he's gonna dive off a cliff at a certain time. Superman's gonna come to rescue them, and when Superman lowers them down to the ground, they're gonna press some button, and all the panels are gonna come off, and the green kryptonite's gonna be exposed. Superman's gonna die. But fortunately, Superman sussed it out by hearing with his. He was in the car as Clark Kent, and he looked around and he saw that it was all lead lined. He was like, why would we lead lined unless it's got kryptonite inside it? And he listened to his superhero and realised that it was a big plot to try and kill him. So he has Supergirl on hand to assist him, basically. Supergirl, gets rid of she throws a big stone at the car that's full of kryptonite and knocks it out of the way, kind of thing. And the day is saved. All good. All good. That's all's well that ends well. Get that back in its cover. Just love everything about these comics. Just the covers are so gorgeous to me. Just lovely, bold, primary colours, clean, crisp art. Just really. Like it's like I can happily flip through these again and again, just looking at all the different covers and just like, oh man, so gorgeous. Right, right. So this is a machine called Maniac. I can't remember what it stands for now, but something to do with calculating and whatever. And this scientist puts it in Lois's care because he's worried about criminals getting hold of it, and being impetuous. Both Lois and Lana decide to try and get this machine to tell them how to win Superman's heart, kind of thing. Yeah, the amazing brain machine. It stands for mathematical analyzer, numerical integrator, and automatic computer. Maniac. Yeah, so she uses it to get a couple of scoops first of all for the paper, and then she thinks, oh, I'll find out how I can win Superman's heart, and she sort of wrecks the machine when Lana starts trying it for exactly the same purpose. So it has prints out a note for her to say something to her when she's in Superman's arm, and it tells her where Superman's going to be. Clark Kent happens to be there. She doesn't think she kind of think, oh, is he Superman? Oh, I can't remember what happens now. And then a brush of wind comes along, knocks the paper out of her hand, knocks Clark's glasses off. The glasses catch the sun and set off some not dynamite, but fireworks that were on the ground by where they were, which knocks the bridge down that they were sitting on. I don't know how it would do that, because surely that bridge was meant to be safe from the fireworks, you would have thought. Anyway, maybe because they all went off in one go, maybe that's what the idea was. Anyway, Clark surreptitiously saves them, gets a Superman robot to come and pick them both up. Yeah, and the scrap of paper with his identity has gone missing. Yeah, and the scientist destroy the Maniac machine because it's too dangerous. He says it can't be trusted even with like Lois Lane. You know, it's probably best not to keep it in this world because it's too much temptation for people. Yeah, that was a long one. Right, Lois Lane's other life. Lois Lane goes undercover as somebody called Sheila. She gets a bonk on the head, and then she forgets her other life. She forgets about Lois Lane, and she sees Lois Lane and thinks that she's like a simpering, like, you know, what a simpering woman going after this Superman like this. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So basically, it's a blonde Lois. Superman tries to kiss her to see if that will get her, and he gets a slap for his temerity. Superman, it's not nice. It's not nice to. You can't just grab a woman like that and plant a smacker on her. It's just not on, mate. Just not on. Right, yeah. So he's trying to sort of fake her out of it to sort of like scare her back into remembering that she's Lois. They even get her to dress up as Lois for a photo shoot. Oh yeah, she apparently she adores Clark Kent now that she's this other woman. No, she thinks she's this other woman. How does he get her to realise? Basically, he changes from Clark Kent to Superman really swiftly, and I don't know. Somehow he lets her know his secret identity, and then she snaps out of it, and then immediately forgets. Her mind's restored, and just as I counted on, she doesn't remember anything that happened during the period of amnesia. Yeah, so that's how he snaps her out of it. Huh? Alright, this last story I've read in a 100-page or 80-page giant, The Fantastic Wigs of Mr. Dupree. It's supposed to be these wigs, they kind of famous people's wigs, and you'll suffer the curse of what happened to those people. So Cleopatra's wig, you're going to get bitten by a poisonous snake. Mary Antoinette, you're going to lose your head, kind of thing. And Lois has a couple of close calls whilst wearing these wigs, and it turns out that the guy who sort of set this story up for her was like he mocked his own death to make it look like the wig curse had killed him. He's even posing as the guy in the wig shop, and it's all to do with stopping. I think it's sort of from stopping her from finding out about their charity scamming crimes that they've been doing. So I think it was to throw her off the scent, kind of thing. My scheme is perfect. Everyone knows Lois Lane is investigating charity rackets. Gunplay might put the finger on us. But if she had an accident while wearing one of these wigs, her death would be blamed on the magic wig curse we dreamed up. They're so believing of anything. Like, oh, alien radiation caused it. Fair enough, that must have been true. Oh, a magic wig curse. Oh no, their world doesn't. It operates completely different to ours. Right, and then the idea is they give her a Supergirl wig, and she's going to start thinking she can do Supergirl powers, and then waiting to see her get killed, thinking she can be Supergirl, like maybe diving off a building or trying to stop a crime or something. But it turns out she swapped places with Supergirl. So yeah, Supergirl comes in, they swap places, and she takes out the criminals basically, while Lois is there getting the goods, getting the evidence required to shop them as being the charity crooks. Yeah. Well, yeah, the ironic thing was that they gave her a blonde wig, saying this is like a wig this is like Supergirl's wig, but in reality Supergirl's hair is blonde all the time, but she wears a wig to hide the blonde hair, so it's like a reverse of yeah. Oh, Jiminy Cricket. Right, here's another imaginary story of Superman and Lois being married. They've got a little baby and everything, but Lois is unhappy because he's still got pictures of these old loves in his safe that the super baby has opened up. It turns out that these pictures have been cursed by Cersei, I think, and so Superman's keeping them safe not because he still loves them, although he hasn't got anything against them, and Lois shouldn't be so jealous anyway. But anything that happens to the pictures will happen to the people. So let's see if it comes out like that. If it's the first story to tell you. Yeah, the Gello hated Superman. Yeah, so she gets insanely jealous by it, decides that he loves them still, leaves the Fortress of Solitude kind of thing. Yeah, but it turns out he was only keeping them because it was mad. Why didn't he just tell them that in the first place? But he says, "Oh, I can't tell you." Basically, is what he says. That's no way, Superman. You've got to talk to your partner and share things with them. And he comes up by saying, "Oh, I didn't want to tell you because your picture's there as well, and I thought you'd be worried. I didn't want to worry you about them. Just tell her." And that way, the photographs. She nearly throws one of the photographs in the fire, which could have killed the person who was on the photograph, who was Lionel Leverell. Luma Leverell, I can't remember the name, we all get double L's. And it turns out that a couple of the pictures start, like someone's thrown fire on the Lana Lang picture, and she starts breathing fire in real life and getting scared. And Laurie Lamaris, she's in a glass tank and it's only got a crack in it. Jimmy Olsen goes blind because there's a paint splash across his eyes. Right, but it turns out it was the baby. It was the super baby who was doing it. And Superman touches all the pictures back up to make them safe again, and so the people in them aren't affected anymore. And Lois nearly breaks her wrist by spanking super baby. Yeah, even that's not allowed nowadays, Lois. You just could put him on the naughty step. Put him on the naughty Kryptonian step or something like that. Or maybe you could put him under a red sun lamp and then you can slap his bottom. But it's not best. You shouldn't admonish children in such a way. But yeah, it's basically black magic by Cersei that made those pictures. And at the end, this is quite funny at the end, Super Baby does one more bit of damage to the photograph by painting a moustache on the picture of Lois. And so Lois has got a moustache suddenly. But this is quite kinky. He says, "Haha, I'll fix it only after I've kissed you. I want to know how it feels to kiss a woman who has a moustache." Okay, Superman. All right, mate. Is there anything you're not telling us? Dear. But yeah, that was a bit of funny. They're all a bit of funny. They're all a bit of good fun. Is health myths debunked? That's one of the PSAs that I've already done a video of in the past. Quite a fun one. Lois Lane's romance with Clark Kent. Why does she romance with Clark Kent this time? Right, there's a beautiful redhead contest, which is won by Lana Lang. This makes her faint. Yeah. Gosh, the nerve of that hussy. She's kissing Superman in front of all these people as if she were his sweetheart. No! Oh! Look, Lana, it's Lois. She's fainting. I know that sly cat Lois. She couldn't stand the sight of my kissing you, so she created a distraction to break up the scene. Yeah, so the Doctor determines that she's so much in love with Superman that she can't, bear to see anybody else with him in any way. He does a little bit of word of association. He says, man, Superman, love, Superman, husband, Superman. So yeah, she's totally obsessed. He tries to tell her that, go with somebody else. Try and find somebody else to keep you off this Superman obsession. It's not good for your heart. She decides to go with Clark. Starts fixating on Clark instead. He's interested, not interested, because he's like, both hot and cold Superman, depending on what the story needs. And like he needs to, like Lois is like smothering him too much, and he can't get away to do Superman related stuff. So how does he end up? He ends up stopping her from loving him by, or trying to pursue him by stealing a scoop. She gets the scoop, a Superman scoop, and he gazumps her with the scoop by getting it in first. And Lois, she's not happy because she's first and foremost a busy go-getting reporter lady, and she hates being trumped on a story. So she's like, look, Clark, I'm pulling off our marriage. Our both being reporters would always create an unhappy rivalry between us. We'd always fight bitterly, so don't bother buying me a ring. Whatever you say, Lois. I knew Lois couldn't take my scoop in her. She loves being a star reporter more than anything else. And she ends up breaking a diploma over the Doctor's head, who told her to stop chasing Superman. He's actually calling the police. Help, operator, get with the observation ward. A mad woman has broken into my office. So yeah, and a bit of violence from Lois there. The guy was just trying to help her. He had her best faults at heart. Right, and this is the last one is Superman in a kissing booth, kissing lots of girls, and Lois is being perfectly fine about it. It all starts off, she's going to bed before her birthday, and as soon as I saw that, I thought, yeah, the whole story is going to be a dream, and it was a dream. But it's all good fun, and various people are giving her crystals that show how Superman's mother ended up wooing Superman's father, and it's the usual daftness of like race. Sorry, not race, but sex. Battle of the sexes, kind of like what was considered the norms in those kind of days, where the women are like, "Oh, so want to get married," and it's like they're raison d'etre almost. It seems, "Oh, just to get a husband is my life. Nothing else is important." That kind of thing. But yeah, there's a couple of things which that she did. Superman's mother did to woo her husband, Superman's father, and Lois tries them and they keep backfiring on her basically. And at the end, he's like, "I don't want to see you anymore," kind of thing. And what happens? It all turns out it's a dream anyway. But in the Superman booth, she's giving away like hamburgers. People are buying hamburgers. She's giving free onions, and then they're going to give Superman kisses. And he's like, "Oh, you smell of onions." And he's like, "Lois, you did that on purpose. I can't stand the smell of onions. I don't want to see you ever again," kind of thing. Basically they all backfire on her, and then she wakes up and it was all just a dream. So there you go. But it was still an interesting story. Oh, my battery's nearly out on my blinking camera. I go on too long on these things. If you're sticking with this, I appreciate you and your amazing stick with it ability. Right, and this one, they discover that Superman was once going to marry someone called Lana Lane. And they've never heard of her. Who is this Lana Lane? They get the story from him. It turns out Lana Lane is actually a mixture of the two of them. They messed with some jewels, what they shouldn't have messed with, even though they were told not to, and it mixed them both together. And the thing is, what was going to happen after these, what seemed to be happening was after a while they'd split up, and both of them would die. But this guy says, "What is this idol thing here that you can use, and it will help save one of them? But you have to choose who you want to save." But he he'd already tried something that would save both of them. It didn't seem like it was going to work. And so he's got this, like, they're sort of trying to force her to make a decision, save one or save the other. Lois says, "Oh, Lana's my friend, save Lana." And Lana's like, "You just saying that so he'll feel sorry for you and save you," kind of thing. And it turns out the thing that he'd done did actually work, but it just didn't see the radiation because it was invisible. He didn't see the radiation that was saving them both because it was invisible. So, and he won't tell who he's planning to save, kind of thing. But in the first story, Lois sells her soul to the devil to be allowed to marry Superman. It turns out it was Superman playing the devil all along. So he was playing the devil in something to scare her off from trying to marry him, kind of thing. In like typical this era of comic books, crazy narratives, crazy ideas of what's sensible. Yeah. I can't remember what he's thinking of, what he thought was the what the purpose of his scheme was, but she realizes that Superman and the guy playing Satan are both the same person because of his signature somewhere and the handwriting that she saw on the contract that she signed, kind of thing. Yeah, so she nearly makes her marry him because he's already said that he would, and he can't break his word. So you see, I was only trying to teach you a lesson. But how did you discover Superman and Satan were the same person? Humph, you're not as clever as you think. There was something familiar with your signature on the wedding license, and when I compared it mentally to Satan's name on a contract, I realised the writing was the same. Lois, I'm thoroughly ashamed of the way I duped you. I'm ready to marry you. Marry a cad who would play a shabby trick like that? Not in your life. And then later in Lois's apartment, the lovable idiot meant it for my own good, choke. I could have been his wife now if I kept my silence, but I didn't want him that way. Who knows? Someday I may really earn the right to be called Mrs. Superman. So she didn't want to, be Superman for the sake, unless it was properly done. Some hairstyle contest winners. There's a few pictures there. And his next story, the super suitor of Sumar. She goes to another world where there's someone who looks very much like her but with blonde hair. And this guy called Supermale loves this Lois lookalike, but she's completely uninterested in him, not interested in him whatsoever. She's suffering from some illness, has to go somewhere for a cure, and while she's away, Lois dresses up as her by dyeing her hair, and she has to try and the last thing she says is make sure you don't give any false impressions to Supermale because I'm not interested in them at all. So she tries to do what she's been told, but she keeps doing things wrong, thinking she's doing things right. She does things wrong and makes Supermale think that he's interested. She's actually interested after all. So it's all interesting stuff. Right, then at the very end, he finally gets... the reason he wants to marry her is because she doesn't want to marry him. It's basically the reason. He's fed up with all these women always throwing themselves at him. And at the very end, Lois is like writing how she can't wait for Superman to try and propose to her so she can turn him down to get her own back on Superman somehow for all the times he's turned her down. And she realises that's mean. So she rips up the note the diary where she said it, and she throws part of it in the fire, but a bit drops on the floor, and Superman reads it, and what he reads is, "Oh, how I'd like to have Superman propose to me. Yes, I can hardly wait for him to say, 'Please marry me, Crystal.'" And that bit's all that he sees. And as soon as he sees that, he flies off, not interested anymore, saying, "So she really was in love with me all along. Crystal only pretended she didn't want to be my bride in order to trick me into proposing to her. Now that I've learned she's as marriage crazy as all the others, I don't want her." What's the sense in that? He wants to marry her because she doesn't want to marry him, but now that she wants to marry him, or he thinks that she does, he no longer wants to marry her. There's some crazy goings on in these worlds. But then later on, when Superman no longer has interest in this Lois Lane lookalike from this other planet, she's like, "Oh no, here's that pest Superman on patrol. That's strange. He's snubbing me. I like that. Now that he isn't falling over me, I'm attracted to him for the first time. Maybe." It's like, what's going on? What's going on? When you want to get married to them, they refuse to marry you, and when they don't want to marry you, you want to marry them. It's like there's some crazy shenanigans going on in these comic books. Yeah, and then you got the last story where they merge together by playing with jewellery they've been told not to play with, and then they nearly die. But I told you that story already. All right, let's crack on. I've only got 2 more to go. Yeah, 2 more to go. I think I'll make it. Right, and this one, let's just get to the books. The one inside. I'll show you the picture on the cover first. All right, the unknown Superman. Right, so Lois finds this scientist who claims to have a machine that allows you to pick up people with unknown talents. She finds these guys with unknown talents following this machine's advice, and and then she asks you to find. So she finds an athlete who's really talented that no one knows about, a musician who's really talented nobody knows about. Then she finds that super person who ends up being a Native American Indian guy on a reservation who does lots of amazing deeds for his fellow tribespeople, but keeps quiet, doesn't want the whole world to know about him, kind of thing. Lois falls in love. He falls in love with her. They're going to get married. He's called Strong Bear. It turns out he gives her as part of the wedding ceremony. She has to wear his ring and get bathed in this pool, the pool of echoes. And when she says, "I love you, Strong Bear," and it all comes back to her and echoes, kind of thing. Right, but it turns out the ring that he'd given her was actually the only thing he needed. He needed that ring. He couldn't be away from it for too long. It turns out all along he was an alien. Who'd come to Earth. He loved Lois. So the whole scientist thing and all the people who had been like the super athlete and the super musician were actually all him, but in different guises, kind of thing. She recognised the ring because it was the same ring the scientist wore, and it was the same ring that the musician and the athlete wore. But when he goes to take it back from her, because he needs it to keep it alive in our atmosphere, he kind of startles her slightly, and she drops it by accident. It breaks, and this special gas inside that keeps him able to change forms and stay alive in our atmosphere. It breaks, and it means he's going to die. But he wasn't like a nasty, and he's a very ugly alien. But when he changes shape, he's not a looker. That's what he really looks like. But he did love Lois from afar. That was him at the beginning there. So when he gets to Earth, he knows who he wants to marry, and it was Lois. And he tells the story of his sad planet that had wars. He was the last person to escape from his planet. He had this power to change his shape. And the last thing he says is, "It wasn't your fault, Lois. How could you know? But I won't mind anything, not even my death, if you will grant me one favour, one last kiss. I loved you, Lois, truly loved you." She says, "Of course. He's the ugliest creature I've ever seen, but the love he bears me is so beautiful that somehow I don't mind kissing him." And so she kisses him, and he vanishes into dust. So there you go. That was a pretty cool story. Quite a little heart twanger. Right, and then this last one, Lois Lane, Beauty Queen. She dresses up to tend to be from another state, so she can get into this beauty thing in disguise, this beauty pageant in disguise. So she can get a story from this guy who makes alarm systems, super alarm systems that never get broken into. She wins. He realises it's her. Makes her win the pageant, and then accuses her of being in the pageant against the law, and he wants a court case. She gets put in prison. I don't see how it was like at the very least like a fine or like be declared no longer the winner, not like a massive court case that gets televised around the country. But anyway, it turns out he wanted all this because as part of the court case, a woman was going to show a picture from her talent portion of the beauty pageant, which is a picture of Medusa. But the actual picture of Medusa, the colours of the snakes on her hair and the way they look, is actually a diagram for a bunch of criminals across Europe to break into the safes that he designed. But he had to put it on television so they could see the design and know how to open the safes. Lois Lane, during the beauty pageant part, she'd used her power of lip reading, which she was able to do. And she just basically lip read and we found out the plot, told Superman, and Superman foiled them all, basically. Yeah. Again, fun stories. Daft as a brush. Old school Lois Lane goodness. Back when comics are more about fun than telling coherent, sensible stories, to be honest, but still good. Right, there's a big jump. That was last one was number 49. And the next one is number 81. So this was like early 60s kind of time. This is the late 60s. This is from 1968. A different style to the cover slightly. I think it was one story all the way through rather than a mixture of stories, but it was quite cool, just as cool. Yeah, Schaffenberger. Kurt Schaffenberger, I'm assuming. February 1968. So she gets right. Death row criminals are being offered a chance to test this gas, and 50-50 chance they might die, but at least they get, at least they've got a chance rather than the definite death on death row that they were going to get. They capture Lois instead to try and break out. She gets doused in this gas, which is supposed to turn the criminals into good people and get rid of all their criminal urges. Instead, it gives Lois mental powers for a while. She's currently working part-time as a nurse as well, and she's got an astronaut boyfriend. Right, she gets ESP flash that Superman's going to get stuck on this rocket that's covered in kryptonite and is going to be close to dying. But she also sees that if her current fiance goes to rescue him, his air pipe is going to snap. So it's like, well, she can't work out what to do. She manages to convince them to go and save Superman and to believe in her psychic flash that she's had. And she decides to sneak on board as well herself and go up there to try and rescue them both, basically, so that neither of them get killed. And it looks like Superman's breaking both of their air pipes, which is obviously from the cover. But what it actually is, both their air pipes got snagged together and they were cutting it off, so he breaks them so that he can drag them back to the ship, and so basically he saves them. So it looked like it was he was being, especially from the cover, it looked like he was being criminal, but that was just for the cover purposes. Really, he really was just saving them. They kind of saved each other in a way. So Lois went up there to save Superman with her then fiance, and Superman ends up, after they've saved Superman, he ends up saving both of them after their air pipes get tangled and nearly kill them. But Lois went up there because if she hadn't, then the guy who was her fiance was going to get killed. So it was all like everyone saved each other. Let's just call it that. And Lois has already realised by now, after being able to read Superman's mind for a bit, that he does love her, and so she ends up breaking up with the then fiance. Not convoluted or confusing at all, I think you'll agree. Right, this final one, it doesn't say it on here. It says An Untold Story of Lois Lane, but I was like, no, I've read that one recently. I know I have. Why didn't it? Oh, but then it says a demand classic, so maybe that must mean a reprint. Maybe that's what I mean by a demand classic. But I knew I'd read it recently, and one of this lot. It's the story of how Lois Lane got her job again, where before Superman turned up, she got a few scoops, and that's how she got her job. And it turns out every single one of the stories that she relates of the scoops that she got to get her job were indirectly influenced by Superman. Like something he'd done made it so that Lois managed to get the scoop or survived the situation, that kind of thing. All a little bit tenuous. But he's like, I won't tell her. I'll let her think that she did it all herself. That kind of, bloody snobbishy kind of like, super dickery. I don't know. Maybe he's being noble. Anyway, that was my books for today. It's probably gone on for absolutely ages. This video is probably going to be an hour long or something, and you're all going to be absolutely bored after 4 minutes. And I'll look back on the analytics and find out that only 5% of the video has been watched. That's what normally happens. But leave a comment anyway. And I'm going to do a shout out for Comic Deal. Thank you for sending me that comic, mate. And thanks for watching, everyone. Till next time, have a great, amazing day. And may all your news be good news. And don't apologise for the glare! Comic deal, thank you for the comic. It was a very good deal, because I never had to pay for it. Make sure you're sub to Comic Deal if you're not subbed already. His link is in the corner, so go and sub him now, and watch all his videos and leave comments on them.